Welcome to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast, America's #1 podcast for new real estate investors, where we know that finding discounted property is the most proven path to financial freedom. I am your host, Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP, Mr. Talk to People, and I am telling you this with full confidence. If I can do this business, so can you. So let's get started. There are two types of real estate leads, two buckets that you could put every single lead in, and that is outbound leads and inbound leads. Outbound leads is all about being proactive, being gritty, going out there, knocking on doors or picking up the phone and making calls. Some would say text message marketing can fit into that, but mostly it's just you and using your time, using the resource that you have, which is the talents to communicate with property owners and reaching out and having a quality conversation and seeing if people would consider an offer on your property. And then you have inbound leads. This is where traditional marketing comes in. This is direct mail. This is bandit signs. This is billboards. This is radio. This is TV. And then there are two that are my absolute favorite, and that is pay per lead. These are internet leads that come into your text message, into your email, into your world when they fill out a form online, or pay per click, which is the same thing where they're going online through Google. They're searching on Google certain keywords like sell my house fast, and they want an offer on their property. And these are awesome leads, and we'll break it all down, but I've got an absolute expert on both of those, but specifically pay per lead with a company called Motivated Leads out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I've got Bryan Driscoll. Bryan, how are you?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me on.
I'm excited. I want to talk about these inbound leads because, listen, when we start out and we don't have a budget and we're just going and we're working off of our faith, and we're working off of our enthusiasm for this business and for our dreams and goals of being a real estate entrepreneur, we got to go out and we got to have a lot of conversations, get rejected by a lot of property owners so that we can build a nice, healthy, heavy bank account to then put into our marketing machine. But once we have it, why should we put it into pay per lead? And what is pay per lead? Can you break it down for us?
Yeah, sure. So the reason you'd want to put it into pay per lead, it's like when you're starting, you got to pay with sweat. You got to go out and door knock. You got to go out and cold call. You have to go find the deals, because unless you have a lot of money, you need to go find that deal cheap.
Yep.
Then what you want to do is you want to take the profits there and reinvest some of it and buy your time back.
Yep.
So that's where pay per lead comes from, or any inbound, like Facebook ads, Google pay per click, all that stuff. You want to spend the money, buy your time back, and have people call you that want to sell their house versus you going out and finding them, right? So pay per lead, what we do on the pay per lead side is we generate leads online, and then you just pay per lead, exactly what the name is. So it's like we have a lead in Maricopa County. It's like it comes in, we send it to you, you pay for that one lead, a couple $100.
Yep.
And that's it. You know, real simple.
What's the average cost for a lead? Let's say let's go into three different segments of the real estate market. Let's go rural, like real rural out there. Let's go smaller markets where it's like, 100, let's say 250,000 population or less. And then let's go some major markets. What's kind of the expectations for the cost that you see on an average for each three of those sections?
Sure. So there's a couple of different ways. So we'll talk about pay-per-click and pay-per-lead cost, right?
Yep.
So on the pay-per-lead cost, our minimum is $300. So it's going to be $300 per market. It depends on the competitiveness, though. So I'm in Pittsburgh. Lead will probably be like $300. New Jersey, I don't know what's up with the guys over there. Like, they don't engage with online. Like, the people that live there, their leads are like probably $600. Same with like Salt Lake City, San Diego. They're pretty competitive also. Rural leads are, our minimum is 300. So it's what it is, right? Now, if you're marketing yourself, say you're doing pay-per-click, like with you guys, right? What I notice is the bigger the area you can target, usually the cheaper the lead is.
Yeah.
You and doing your own marketing, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes you would think rural leads would be the cheapest, but if the population's really low, sometimes like Lancaster, Pennsylvania, for example, is a lower population. Leads are expensive if I try to generate them just in that county or in that city specific. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
it's kind of counterintuitive because you think the smaller the area, less competition. With Facebook and Google, they're like, well, the bigger the area, if you let us market to more population, the cheaper the lead cost.
I love it. So it just depends on how many people are actually searching in those markets will determine the cost of the leads. Like in New Jersey, if people aren't going on there searching, hey, cash offer for my house in Google, literally Googling that, then there's just going to be less leads and they cost more.
Yeah, and it's less leads. And what happens is if we get less leads, say I have 3 people in those areas and the lead cost is $450, right? If we only get, I don't know, 10 leads a month, investors are competitive. They're like, well, you know what? I'm just going to be the top bid. I'm going to take all the leads. And then the next guy take that. So on the pay per lead side, it's not necessarily dictated by market. It's dictated by your competition. It's like, okay, I'm going to pay this. Then they outbid each other. And a lot of guys just outbid just to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, they're competitive people. It's same even on when I used to do agency marketing too. It's like a lot of competitors just wanted to outrank their competition versus focusing on profit.
Yep. Which is silly and not a long-term strategy. So
right. Nature of the beast, you know?
Yeah. Bryan, are you a real estate investor? Like what's going on here?
Yeah, I'm an investor. I got into investing. Actually, I got into investing, you know, Ron LeGrand, right?
Yeah, of course.
I got into investing and I failed miserably the first time. Back in 1998, one of the seminars when they were traveling the country, right? So I got in back then, failed, but I learned some things. And about 10 years ago, I got back into investing. I bought my first property. It was hammered. Like it needed, I bought it right, so I was good, but it needed double the work than I estimated.
Yeah, sure.
You turn on the bathtub and it leaked in the basement, like just flowed. But that was my introduction. I got in there. I bought the property, fixed it up, and I kept it as rental. And I originally, when I started doing that, I was taking commercial loans. So I'd have to come up with 20% down for each property I was doing.
Yeah.
Eventually, I saved up enough cash to buy a property cash. And I just been doing the BRRRR method. I buy them, fix them, pull my money back out, and do it again.
And rent them out.
Yep. Yeah, just buy crappy houses, make a bunch of equity on them, rent them out, they cash flow. And it's fairly passive now. I used to do a lot of this stuff myself, but now I got a property manager and everything.
So let's talk about that. How many properties do you have?
Yeah, I got about 18 properties. I do single families. I try to do usually 3 beds, 2 baths is what I'm going for.
So 3 bed, 2 bath in Pittsburgh. And I love this. You do it all in the same zip code. You don't even leave your zip code.
Right. Yeah. Right. I live in Bethel Park, right where I live.
That's awesome. But so let me ask you this. What is the average that you have to put into each property and set aside as a budget that you're going to then pull back out? And are you getting all of your money out every time, or are you leaving 10, 15,000 in each property?
It's a good question. So when I first started, I had to leave money in because I was putting money down. Now the average deal I get is about 100 grand, 120, somewhere around there. I put in usually like 30 or 40,000.
Yep.
So one example is I bought a property a while ago, $100,000. We put in like 35K and it appraised at 230. So I'm able to pull 100% of my money back. I don't pull anything additional. Like I leave the equity sit there, but I pull all my money back to recycle it again.
If somebody wanted to do that method, how much do you think they'd have to set aside or at least raise to be able to do that? Is it 50,000?
Depends on the market.
60,000? Let's say it's in a market where these properties are under 200,000. Because listen, here's what people have to understand. This took me a long time, Bryan, to understand this. Is there are cash flow markets and there's appreciation markets. Okay, right. And usually they don't commingle, right? Like in Phoenix, you buy a house in a good school district, you're 450, 500,000, and with 7% interest rates, you're not cash flowing that deal. But we're getting 5, 6, 7, 8, 10% appreciation year over year because of the growth of the economy and the growth of and the lack of housing being built and all sorts of other factors. You go into Pittsburgh, you've got a house that you could buy for 100,000. It was probably 100,000 15 years ago. It'll probably be 100,000 15 years from now. So you can use it as a cash cow because you can get really good rents relative to what you're putting into these properties. But it's not going to like have this explosive appreciation. Would you agree?
Yeah, well, you know what? In Pittsburgh, I agree 100% with what you're saying. Pittsburgh has that too. It has different areas. So where I invest, it's more appreciation because it's like the rents don't follow the values. It's silly. It's like if I buy a property for, say I got 140K into it and it's worth 230, they're only renting for like $1,500.
Yeah.
It's like, so, but you got a whole bunch of equity. Now I can go down the road, not right down the road, but I can go down like more into the ghetto. I could buy a property for 40K, put like 10 grand into it and rent it for $1,200.
Mm-hmm.
It's like your cash flow like crazy. You know what I mean? So it's like, and you're right, they don't mix. Like I have not found one that's like appreciating and cash flowing. It's like, I wish there were out there.
Well, because the prices eventually get too high.
Yep.
You know, for the rents to make sense and to really keep cash flowing. So just an interesting little side note for everybody listening and watching there. But so Bryan definitely is a real estate investor. And so how much would you set aside in a market like that you're at? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That you can kind of recycle.
Yeah, if you wanted to, it depends if you wanted to buy cash or if you wanted to put money down. Like me, in my market, you need like 150
awesome
cash to recycle it. You know what I mean? But also how I started though, I didn't do it that way. I bought like one property a year and I saved up to just put down 20%. I bought the property and then I could refi that 20% out. I didn't do it, but you could, in a sense, if you want to get $150,000 property, you only need like 35,000, including closing costs. You buy it, refinance it, like you buy it with a loan, hold it for a couple months, fix it, and then go back to the bank and pull your money back out too. You can do it that way.
Yeah.
You know,
love it.
If you're just starting out, you just want to make sure you got, main thing is just buy them right. If you buy them right, banks will give you money all day.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that's the whole point of this podcast, making sure we're getting the best deals, right?
Right.
Discounted property truly is the most proven path to financial freedom. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. I mean, literally people are one conversation away with a property owner of making 10, 15, 20, 30,000. And I'm not just doing that to be sensational. This is real life. Like every single second of every single minute of every hour of every day, somebody's closing these deals around the country, multiple times around the country. And, you know, I just want to encourage everybody listening that maybe you haven't done your first deal yet and you're working off of that faith. But as soon as you get that first dollar in from your efforts in real estate, once you have that first great conversation with somebody that wants to trade price in their house for speed and convenience, and you're able to put that deal together and you cross that bridge from faith to fact, it's like the best. It's the best day ever. It just breaks your brain. And then the sky's the limit. And then you build up a bank account of $250,000. Then, of course, you give $100,000 to your business partner, which is Uncle Sam. But then you're left with $150,000 that you can then go and put into these properties and then just recycle. And then all of a sudden, after a few years, you're up to 18 rental properties that are cash flow, and you got a property manager that's taking care of it, and you're super wealthy like Bryan.
Dude, it's insane too, because like, wealthy. Like, you know what? It did make me rich though. Like, I remember when I just first started. Number one, every property I always got, I was always scared right before I closed too. Like I'm like, is this the right decision? But consistency, it's like I bought a property and I bought another one and I bought another one, and then before I knew it, I had a whole bunch of equity and like I was wealthy.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's weird how that happened. I didn't go into it. I just like the game. Like, I like buying properties and fixing crappy stuff. But like anyone starting to, it's like you got to take the first step. Like do that first one, and then consistently, and it'll work out for you.
I love it. So paper leads, are people buying the paper leads to add to their rental portfolio, or is this mostly fix and flippers and wholesalers?
It's everybody. I'd say basically we're targeting people that have problems. Right. So if you're looking for people that have a problem, that own a house, that's the type of people we're looking for. I'd say most of our clients flip, they also will wholesale, like they cherry pick. Pick the one. Actually, I take that back. They cherry pick which ones they want to keep, then they flip, and then they wholesale, and then they'll do novation stuff like that too. So
Sure.
a lot of the guys, especially our seasoned guys, though, they're looking. They want to keep properties and then flip them, because the flipping's where they're going to make most money.
Yep.
And then whenever they're at bandwidth, they wholesale them out, like the extra ones.
Got it. Why do you set it at 300 minimum for the leads, even if they're in Elephant's Breath, Wyoming or something? You know what I mean? Like if it's in some tiny town, why are you charging $300 for these leads, Bryan? What are we doing?
Well, you know why? Because I look at the KPIs. It makes sense on my side and the investor's side. I used to do it for $200 a lead. I had to raise the price because I'm marketing for these myself through like Google, Facebook, things like that. Some months we were almost breaking even, because what happens on a pay-per lead is I generate the leads. If we don't have someone in that area or somebody's paused, we waste our money. So yeah, 300, and I'm focused on like a little more on quality too. So we got more expenses. Like I got people vetting the leads, customer service, all that kind of stuff, you know?
What do you mean?
So say for example, a lead comes in. I had a guy hit me up like 6 months ago.
Yep.
He's like, hey, you know what? The leads aren't working. That was probably 8 months ago, maybe. He's like, the leads aren't working out for us. We got to pause. And he's a reputable guy. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I know he's got good processes, stuff like this. He's like, we're just not able to get him on the phone, get appointments. I'm like, okay, how about this? I'm going to be your lead manager for 2 weeks. I called every single lead that came in, and I found out some of the problems were our leads. Some of the problems were their processes.
Yeah.
So, which that made me get on a rabbit hole then. I'm like, you know what? Screw this. We're going to call every one of our leads. So I hired a staff to 24 hours a day vet leads for the time being. So I wanted to see, okay, where can we be better?
Yep.
And then I found a lot of places. Mainly it was in the messaging, like in our messaging and landing pages, things like that. What exactly to say that gets retail leads, which no one wants, and what gets motivated leads, the people that want to sell off market.
Right.
But things like that, though, like putting a bunch of staff on increases our cost. And I had a decision. I'm like, okay, we can sell leads for real cheap, or we can raise the price a little teeny bit and focus on quality. You know, so that's a little bit long answer for you.
It's absolutely critical, because there is a common theme with paper leads where it's just get any leads in from anywhere and sell them, whether they be text message leads, which are terrible from a paper lead standpoint, or whether they're like cold calling centers that send in leads. People are selling those as paper lead. I mean, they're selling anything as paper lead. I don't want that. I want people searching to sell their house, right? I want people that are actively like, I am ready to sell my house. I have this problem. I want to, I need somebody to solve this problem. I want to sell this as fast as possible. That's what I'm looking for when it comes to inbound leads, especially if I'm paying $300 to $500. I mean, it's $500 a lead here in Phoenix. And if I get those leads in and my guys are messing around with a bunch of retail, sure, we've got relationships with real estate agents that will give us 50% referral fee because we're licensed. But that's not my business model. My business model is finding ugly houses and matching them up with people that want to put significant investment into these houses and getting a fee for finding them.
Yep.
And you're saying that you are keeping your lead, the leads that you're sending to your people, you're keeping them really clean.
Yeah, we're keeping now. We still don't. Yeah, we're trying to do our best to have the best quality leads. It's still not a magic lead, right? Of course. It's still 6 out of 10 leads come through. They're not a fit or whatever.
Yep.
4 leads are deals you want. Normally, guys are locking down one of those. So usually it's 1 to 10. So it's still a numbers game. So that's one of the misconceptions I hear people in the paper lead space do. Like, I got 3 leads and they didn't want to sell, or they didn't match and they didn't want to sell yesterday. It's like, you got to run the numbers still. If you have good processes, you're going to crush it though.
Yeah, and I would say a minimum 90 days. If I were to give anybody advice listening to this and working with you at motivatedleads.com, I would say, listen, if it's $3,000 to get a deal, you need to set aside $9,000 so that you can do this for the next 90 days, right? You need to see this through. You need to be able to do that. And we were talking about this before we started this podcast. Here is the Achilles heel of inbound leads. You only get a certain amount every single day. Maybe it's 1, maybe it's 2, maybe you go a day you don't get any leads. And the fact is, you need to set your schedule up so that you or somebody on your staff responds to these leads within 30 seconds. I know you say 1 minute, Bryan. I'm going to challenge people 30 seconds. As soon as that lead comes in, you need to be available, or somebody on your team needs to be available to call them, or the drop off is ridiculous. After the first minute, certainly after the first 5 minutes. If it's after the first hour, it's like 50-50 if you're ever going to speak to them. You know what I mean? And so the magic is in how fast you can call that lead when it comes in.
Right. It's so crucial. It's not crucial for the people that might want to sell. It's crucial for that one guy that's like, I got a problem. I'm selling to the first guy that seems legit. That's the guy that it matters most for. And
people hear that, Bryan. They're like, why? Do people really do this? I am telling you, these are the best leads we've ever had. Pay-per-click, pay-per-lead, by far. If you were to interview my whole staff and say, what are your favorite leads? It would be pay-per-click and then pay-per-lead. It is the inbound, motivated, coming in. But again, that goes back to the Achilles heel that I was kind of talking about, which is you have to set your schedule up to be available to call that lead as soon as it comes in, or somebody on your team to call that lead as soon as it comes in and connect with them and answer the calls live. Certainly if it's an inbound call, because if you don't, the best, most motivated, just like you were saying, Bryan, are gone. They're going to go to somebody else. It's like they have a hole in their roof and it's a storm going out and it is pouring and everything's hitting ruin in their house. They need somebody to come over and fix it right away.
100%.
That's what these
so important.
Yeah. So one, with these leads, they're fantastic, but be available. Have redundancies in your processes, that if you're in the shower or you're exercising or you're on a date or you're whatever, on an appointment or already speaking with somebody else is going to get that. Is there any services that you suggest, Bryan, that are like an answering service that's really been good for some of the people that maybe they're doing inbound leads, but they're part-time, right? They've got full-time jobs, or they're in the military, or they're driving, or they're teachers or something like that, and they can't respond or be available as much until they can replace their income with their efforts in real estate. Is there any call centers that you like, or any services?
I'd say call centers are good. So here's what I recommend first. And I have 2 call centers I can recommend also. There's a web service called Callingly. It's callingly.com. It's like you pay them monthly. And what happens is a lead comes into your system and it'll call your phone and call everybody on your team. First person to answer it connects you with the seller. So that's something good there. Second thing I like to do is when a lead comes in, I like to send them a text message immediately also, asking them to book an appointment and give them a Calendly link. It's like, hey, thanks for filling out a form on our site. Want to book an appointment? And then we still call them. But think about this, at 4 a.m, if someone fills out a form, you may not be calling them.
Right.
They're sitting in bed. So they're like scrolling. They just booked an appointment for you to come give them an offer tomorrow. Hopefully they quit looking. You scratch their itch.
Yep.
Call Porter is a pretty decent answering service. And Voice Nation I found is pretty good too.
Okay.
But also you have to keep in mind too, an answering service is not personable. So they're going to answer the phone and then the person's going to be like, well, how's this working? Like, hey, sorry, ma'am. I can only just take your information. So it's like, try to keep it in-house if you can. But if not, Voice Nation is cheaper than Call Porter, I believe. Call Porter specializes in real estate though.
Yep.
So you have a little bit of better experience there.
Yeah.
But in-house, because I listen to the calls, I've used them before. And it's like the seller wants to build a connection with the person and the person is kind of like a robot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been our experience as well, especially when we were doing a lot of direct mail, and it just didn't work out. We have everything in house, and I think that's been I don't think it's been a huge game changer, because we're locking up deals the first call. You
Right.
know what I mean? If and it rings, we use CallRail, you use Callingly, but we use CallRail. If a call comes in, it rings. to four people on my team, and they know if it rings twice that Chad, my junior acquisition manager, who answers most of them, couldn't get to it. So then it's a rush to see who gets it, because you get it, it's yours, and you get the commission on it. So it makes it real nice and competitive for my guys to answer that live for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely try to get these people quick.
What's the minimum budget somebody should consider if they're going to do PPL?
I'd say it depends on market. I would say minimum 3 though. So if you think about what your goals are, it's like, okay, if you want to get a deal a month and a lead cost is 300, I'd say 3,000 minimum. If you're in San Diego, it's going to have to be more. San Diego, Salt Lake City, their lead costs are like $600-700. So same with Jersey, you're going to have a higher budget. But minimum 3.
1 in 10 though, you think?
Yeah, most of it. I mean, yeah, because people got problems. Like the same San Diego. I mean, it depends too what your dispos are.
Right.
So the thing, and what I mean by that is the people that I see doing really well are problem solvers. They're not just going in and saying, "Hey, I can give you cash." It's like, no, what's your problem? And then they think in their head, okay, how can I solve that?
Yeah.
Maybe I can wholesale it. Maybe I can novate it. Maybe we can list it. Maybe we can flip it. So it's like you want to think of things like that too, and that's how you're going to get a pretty good close rate. If you only have one way to dispo a property or do a deal, your close rate might be 1 out of 15, or maybe a 1 out of 20. I don't know. You don't want to pigeonhole yourself. You want to think, okay, these people have a problem. If I solve it, we make money and create a win-win for them too.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a conversation with the Novation King, Rich Wonders, who's just fantastic. We love him in the tribe. And the strategy that he's seeing a lot is buy leads in not rural, but smaller markets, not too far out there, but in smaller markets. Usually they're second homes or inherited homes or vacation homes, or maybe some owner occupied, but they're looking to make a major move, and they're not in terrible shape, and do a novation on those deals, and they're making an absolute fortune. They're averaging like 40 grand a deal in these markets where the typical assignment fee, wholesale fee, would be like 8,000. They're making 5 times as much buying pay-per leads from companies like Motivated Leads, and putting those under a novation strategy, and doing fantastic. So there's so much that you can do when you're working, and the competition seems to be a lot less when you're going in the smaller markets with these properties that aren't completely destroyed. They can get conventional financing. It's working really well for a lot of people.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome. Brian, how can people get these leads from you?
Easy. Just go to motivatedleads.com, fill out a form, hop on a call. If it seems like a fit, we'll get you running in like 24 hours.
Awesome. And you can turn on and off the leads based on your schedule?
Yep. Yeah, you can turn them on. It's super transparent. There's a green button, or when the button's green, you're getting the leads, and we're going to bill you when one comes in. If you want to pause, you just make it red. Yeah, so it's like you don't even have to talk to someone to pause.
What's the refund policy on just leads that are just they're listed, or it's a mobile home but they don't own the land, like some of those other things?
Yeah, we give your money back. So it's within 72 hours, you just submit it. We process refunds quickly. Basically, we have a refund policy like mobile homes, vacant land, stuff like that. But if it's not a single family home, then they want to sell it, we'll refund it.
Awesome.
So we're trying to be fair. We're trying to get people deals. So if a bad one, because bad ones do come through, people lie on the form.
Yes.
Say their house is not listed on the MLS, and it is. So it's like, you got dummies out there. Just we'll give you your money back.
Awesome. Cool. Guys, if you're interested in that, definitely check out motivatedleads.com. Get on a call with them, see if it's the right fit. There's so many different strategies that you can use with this. But remember this, in your real estate investing journey, the first step, if your business is a train going down the tracks, the engine of that train is lead generation. You need leads. That's the fuel of your business. Leads solve all the other problems. I'm just telling you. And once you get really good at converting those leads, oh man, those skills don't go away, and you can just make an absolute fortune in this business. So, Brian, thank you so much for being on here. Motivatedleads.com. Great job. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, man. It's a good time.
Awesome. And guys, if you're interested in getting a custom blueprint, everybody's different, right? Everybody's different based on 4 main factors. Number 1 is, what is your marketing budget? What is your lead generation budget? Number 2 is, what market are you in? Are you in a big market? Are you in a small market? Are you in a rural market? Number 3 is, what is your experience? Have you had a lot of experience speaking with property owners, or are you just getting started with that, starting to build some momentum? And then the 4th factor is, what is your schedule, right? You have kids running around, you have a lot of other responsibilities. Are you doing this part-time? Are you doing this full-time? We would love to put together a custom blueprint for you. We've done this over 4,000 times with the absolute best of the best real estate investors around the country. Go to wholesalinginc.com, wholesalinginc.com. Apply for a call with our team. It'll be the most impactful call ever when it comes to your real estate journey. Get in there, apply for a call, and look into joining the Rhino tribe and getting your custom blueprint. Check that out today. I am Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP, signing off as I always do, encouraging you to go talk to people. Love you guys. See you soon.